Hello, Internet land. I won't say ladies and gentlemen, because that would be broadcasting. And consummate professionals such as ourselves don't go, hi, folks, because it's not 1958. That was one of the first things I was ever taught in radio.
What was that?
Broadcasting, never to say, hi, folks. Hi, people listening out there.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, everybody. And to me, it's the first sign of amateurs, because you're not broadcasting. You are speaking to one person, and that's what I was taught.
That's my favourite thing that I ever teach people about radio was Terry Wogan. Whenever anyone asked him how many listeners he had, I think the Queen asked him, how many listeners have you got? And he went, oh, no, just the one.
Just the one listener there. Yeah. Dear old
Terry Wagwan.
I love a bit of Terence. Bless his cotton socks. I always wanted to be Terry.
Really?
He was one of my heroes. Yes. Because he was light and didn't really care for the rap music. It was lovely to wake up on early morning, usually hungover. Hello, Intellect Land. Yes, you are listening to a couple of old soaks chatting to each other. This is Car-boyz. It's hopefully going to be a weekly podcast where we are going to discuss all things automotive related and a lot of stuff that isn't. Despite the fact we were just chatting about radio. So we're going to be going into all sorts of areas. We're going to look at the advantages of a big block Hemi, diesel versus petrol, which one is better, and Hondas. Are they only for dead people? The answer probably being yes. But we'll also be shooting the breeze about other subjects, politics, religion, what outfit you should wear if you're buried. I've got some good ideas on that.
And that's right. It's not just the car show that's on the radio. We've got no budget, but we've got lots of ideas and opinions that will make you laugh out loud. From which car a man should definitely not drive. The MX-5 comes to mind. The Suzuki Cappuccino. Maybe the sport car? Don't know.
You didn't own any of those, did you?
No, maybe. Maybe one of them.
Carry on.
So what is the cheapest car you can get out on the road? And as Rich said, there's lots of stuff in between, such as why do cheese and onion pasties exist? And who's to blame for Brexit? That might be a bit of a heavy one, and we can't answer that in a few short answers.
What, the cheese and onion pasty or the Brexit?
The Brexit. I think there's a bit more heavy than the pasty.
I don't know. If you've had about 8 pints, the cheese and onion pasty is quite heavy as a finisher. have you ever been to a garage and put one in a microwave drunk? Do they even do that anymore in garages?
What? Cornish pasty in a sock?
Yeah. A wet pasty in 3 o'clock in the morning. You'd stagger in. You'd put the Gingsters cheese and onion pasty and you put it on full for like 5 minutes, and it would just be a hot plastic bag full of pastry and cheese, but it would taste wonderful because you were so inebriated.
Wow, I have to try that one time.
He's Simon Sujiwan. He's a Ford fanatic and lover of all things petrol. This is Car-boyz. I'm Richard Green. I'm a car nut who's driven all types of cars on 4 different continents. How has your week been, Simon? You have a new baby, don't you?
I do. Because we're car nuts and we're Car-boyz, I bought myself a Mini Cooper S.
Somebody's got to. Not the Auto, I hope, because I gather the Auto has got a really awful box that's like notorious, or it did on the earlier models.
Well, the one that I've got is the later updated one, and apparently it's the one that it's the sought after Mini that you can get. It's got the updated BMW engine.
Nice.
None of this Peugeot mechanics inside, so it's reliable. So yeah, it's really good fun. And if you're around the streets of North London, that sound that you hear isn't gunshots; it's the sound of my exhaust.
Ooh, is this a factory fitted? You haven't got dumbbells or anything?
No. There's a button on it. So it's the Cooper S has a sport button, which I've lovingly renamed as the hooligan button.
Nice.
Because when you press it, it does all sorts of things, including the exhaust making it pop.
Have you also got some blue underlights to go with this?
No, but the interior does have mood lighting, and you can adjust it. So I've adjusted mine to blue already. So and quickly avoided the pink
one.
So
you can see if you drop your heroin as you're driving along. Or is it the other way around? It's like in Australia, and all the toilets had blue lights.
Yeah, and the hair dryers.
No, it's the other way. It is right. It's the other way around. So you can't do heroin in there. I just wanted to pee. I didn't want to do any heroin. Why would you want to do any heroin? It's very strange. So apparently it makes it more difficult. So definitely, I mean, I was obviously hoping to do some heroin in your Mini, but that's out now. Is it not a rebadged? Is it not? It's not a rebadged BMW then, the Mini. It's a completely different car.
It's got lots of BMW parts in it.
It's not like a Series 1.
No. It's made, and also it's made in Oxford. I found out, which is good because it's not, at least it's not in Birmingham, and it will fall apart.
Well, home of MG, Abingdon, of which my grandfather had, I think, 6 MGs, and my father had MGs. Beautiful cars. I think they're made in, I don't know, by the Hang Wong Flying Company of Beijing now or something, and they look dreadful. I
did see one today. I saw an MG today, and it was in orange.
Somebody at our church has got one, and I'm very suspect, and I'm fearing it may be the priest. I think he needs to have a word with the Lord, because that is not a product that should be going anywhere. I don't even know what it is. I don't know whether it's a rebadged Daihatsu or what it is. It's just horrible. It just shouldn't exist. I'd even have more respect for the company, because obviously you understand that they bought everything at Longbridge and shipped it out to, let's say, Shanghai.
Yeah.
And then they recreated the factory there. And so, obviously the loss of jobs. But I'd have respect for them if they took something like an old MX-5 and they rebadged it as an MG. To me, that would be so maybe the old machine tooling for the first generation MX-5.
Yeah.
Say they bought that, they rebadged it as an MG, because that would be the completion of the circle for the fact that the MX-5 was based on the MGs and the
Lotus
and the Healy
styling was
the Elans of the 1950s and 60s, and the fact it's come around and it's rebadged as an MG, and I think, well, I'd have some respect for it. But what looks like crappy little hot hatches coming out of China doesn't really do anything for me.
Well, the thing is about the MX-5, because that is also, the Fiat have got a Roadster at the moment.
Yes.
And that's an MX-5, so there's no reason why I can't see MG buying something like that. And
apparently the Fiat one is worse though. It breaks.
So
they've managed to wangle in with it wouldn't be an Italian car without the braking. So apparently, it's like a Spider Abarth or something.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And it's the same with the Toyota GT86. There's a Subaru version. And like most Subarus, that also breaks a lot more than the Toyota. So why would you, apart from the status of having an Italian car, which I guess doesn't have much status anymore. We've got more on that. In fact, should we do some
nice
news?
link.
Yes, it was. It's good, wasn't it? That's right. Talking of Japanese cars, we need some music, but I could go.
Shuffle the papers. Come on, shuffle the papers.
Yes. The new Toyota Supra is a rebadged BMW. What the hell? I was really looking forward to this. Loved the Supra as a kid. I could never afford one. I wanted one in about '98, and I still had an RS 2000, and I couldn't afford one. They're about 17 grand.
Is that the one with the big double lights on it?
Like there was the square one of the late 70s, early 80s, and then about 93, 95, they had this one with this beautiful curved spoiler.
Rear wing,
Supra. That I don't know what the font is. I would say it was Mixer from the 1960s. The font was sort of way all over the place. They've kept the font.
Yes, I saw that. It's right in the middle on the back, isn't it?
Yeah. The car looks good. But it ain't what Japanese car fans, and me being one, like. It's made in Austria, so it's the same factory as the BMW Roadster, same platform, same engine, same switchgear, same sat-nav, same computer, same interior.
How much of it is actually Toyota then?
None of it. What Toyota have cleverly done is gone through with a giant eraser and erased every single thing that says BMW and written Toyota on it. But it's not a Toyota. Now, I took my wife for a birthday to New York a few years ago, and we were in Greenwich Village, and we saw a Jaguar, I kid you not, mid-90s Jaguar, that had been painted red with loads of Ferrari badges on it.
Is that kind of like the 80s craze here certainly in London, where you had a Toyota MR2 and people used to put Ferrari badges on that?
Yes, or yes. This was worse because it didn't look like any Ferrari. It looked like a Jaguar, and he had bits of yellow tape on the wheels.
Mm.
And then there was a Ferrari badge, which I don't think it was off a car. Maybe it was off a jacket that was gaffer taped to the bonnet. And I kept looking around for cameras because I think this has got to be a top. This has got to be a Top Gear thing or something.
Mm.
And no. And so I went up to the driver, being cheeky, and I said, "Oh, my grandfather used to work at the factory where this was made in Coventry." And he said, "Oh, right." He said, "This is a Jaguar that thinks it's an Italian supercar." And you know what I thought? I thought,
What?
what a twat. You don't package something and call it something else. I mean, this looked ridiculous, but I think on a lesser note, what Toyota have done with the Supra is like that, a bit like Dacia. I suppose Renaults, get it right, made in Romania, are still Renaults.
Yeah, they are.
Albeit made by people who not so long ago were fearing the wrath of the Soviet superpower. I'm not going to be buying this Supra. I had a 3 Series M Sport, and it was a pile of crap. It came with so
It
many
looked good.
It looked lovely. It looked
It
lovely.
did.
Cream leather seats. The seats wore. The bolsters wore on the seats. Lots of electrical problems. And I had two, maybe 19 or 20-inch wheels at the back, but very, very thin, low profile. And they both cracked. The aluminium cracked on both. And if you are listening to this, Undertaker from Essex, who I sold the car to, I apologise, but sold that thing.
But going back to my Mini though, I have a cream leather interior in my Cooper. And you said something to me that just made me laugh, which was, I probably won't have that car very long.
No. You'll do it once, and you'll never do it again. You'll get another mark. You'll literally be just or you'll go the other way, and you'll buy plastic covers, right? Like a South Asian taxi driver. Everything will be covered in see-through plastic because you're literally, I've got a mark, and you get in the house and you go and get your spray.
Yes.
And you get rid of that mark. And you'll be in, and now I've got my beautiful black interior. It's probably covered in marks, none of which I can see.
And obviously the big difference as well, you now have kids.
Oh yeah, that was stupid. That was my midlife crisis car. Having children and buying a car with a cream leather interior was not a 2-door sports coupe.
Not very practical.
It did have the ski pack, so I could fold. And talking of which, as we were mentioning earlier on, I took that car to the south of France and spent the whole 10 days worrying that bloody French people were going to bash into the side of it. And the French, and you've got this impression that they're a massively loyal Gallic, I should say. They are Gallic as well, if you've ever been there. Lovers of the French cars, Renault, and Peugeot. No, they all are driving 2-year-old dented Dacia Dusters and Dacia Sanderos, and they don't give it. And so you're driving this beautiful BM. Please don't come near my car. Please don't come near my car.
Did I hear once that the French, they did say that the bumpers on their car were for exactly that, just to bump into other cars?
That is, my wife taught in the French Alps about 20 years ago. We're sitting in Abbeville having a cup of coffee, and I watched a guy come down the road in something like a Citroen ZX. Oh no, it was a Renault Megane. And he pulled up and he saw a space, and I sat at this window going, "You're not going to get it in there, mate." He came in and he reversed in, bashed into the car behind him, then bashed into the car in the front and got out. There was somebody in the car in the front. So if the guy turns around and puts his hands up in the air, and the other does the garlic shrug of, walks off. And the concept is, well, the bumpers are for bumping. Yeah, it's not a country. I had another French friend that lived, again, in the French Alps, who's a massive Subaru fan. And he worked in Switzerland, but lived in France because it was cheaper. But he'd be just drive around France scared of for his car all the time. Because the French have a more laissez-faire regard to dents and dings in a car. Talking of Europeans, I believe you've got a story about Germany.
Yeah, we moved down the road in Germany, where prosecutors have actually raided the office and homes of a number of senior officials in Germany as part of an investigation of irregular payments and information leaks. Now, the raids, which took place earlier this week on Tuesday, were focused on the offices at Porsche headquarters. in Zuffenhausen. That's my
Wow.
German accent.
You said that you're like a natural.
Well, we have been to Germany. I did learn everything in a weekend in Germany back in October. Um,
And the other
and it's also engineering base, which is in Weissach.
Oh, okay.
Prosecutors in Baden-Württemberg.
It's easy for you to say.
I know. I took a lot of reading that several times. Carried out the raids after launching an investigation into a tax official who is suspected of leaking confidential information to a tax advisor of Porsche.
Uh-huh.
And he was doing that on the understanding he would receive some kind of favours.
You don't expect this from the Germans, do you? You think they're going to be, well, I do anyway, sort of straight-laced.
Yeah. But in this case, well, they're doing a little bit of corruption here and there at VW.
Allegedly.
Yeah. But the Porsche managers,
off YouTube. Sorry.
the Porsche managers are also suspected of making disproportionate payments to a member of the Porsche Works Council.
Well, obviously, we're concerned about this, but we do need a sponsor for the show. So if Porsche are out there, we will happily disregard stories like this and just go on about what a wonderful company they are.
Exactly, and
you do not expect it though off the Germans. I think it's quite a shock.
I know, but this is the accused of this are 6 current employees.
Okay.
And several Porsche executives. So no, well, I assume when it says Porsche, it doesn't mean because they're part of the VW Audi group that they're not related to that. So there's no corruption going across the VW Audi group at all.
No, that would just be in relation to emission levels from the back of VWs.
But that was quite clever. Their engineers are really good.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if you know the emissions thing. So the ECU was programmed so it knew when it was on a rolling road, because the steering wheel on the cars never turned, and it was only until you turned it a couple of degrees that the program would go back into the normal mode.
Right.
So they were quite clever. But
talking to my mechanic about this, because I've never owned, I've driven a few VWs, I've never owned one. He told me that cheap Peugeots, cheap Citroens, cheap Renaults all have far worse emission levels than VWs. I mean, they're terrible. And he said to get them even to pass their first MOT, what is it? It's 82 years old. They have to thrate them within an inch of their life up and down the bypass, bring them back down, and then they'll pass the emissions level. So then everything that's French and older than about 2 years is not meeting emission levels. It's meeting them for the MOT because the mechanics are having to sort of stage that anyway.
I love the fact that you've got a mechanic. I want a mechanic.
You need a mechanic, mate. My mechanic in my life is fantastic, and he's on the end of the phone. I will give you his number.
Have you had him for a while?
I overfilled my Honda with oil the other day, and I was just about to set off on a long journey. And I was like, what have I done? Not horrendously.
What happened with that?
It went down. I did 350 miles, and I burnt it all off. This, people, is what you're supposed to do when your garage tells you that you've got half the oil left in your car. That half marker does not mean half of the capacity of oil in your car, which I thought it did. So I thought, well, if there's a 4.5 litre capacity on this engine,
2 litres
remain. Means I've got 2.25 litres of oil to put in. But I won't put 2.25. I will put in a litre. And then I check the dipstick, and now the oil is above the top mark of what should legally be inside, properly, not legally, be inside a car, because I don't want it to, cause compression issues and bust up the engine. Then I spoke to somebody else who said, no, the top and the bottom point on your dipstick mean the comfortable, safe areas in which your car can run with oil. So it's a bit of a lie. So in actual fact, that half point was probably about, 3.6.
Do you know what I think it really is?
What?
Is the dipstick getting its own back, calling you the dipstick?
I think so. I think I would happily be called the dipstick. I did feel like I don't think I've put oil in a car for about 20 years. I can't remember the last time I put oil in a car. I just drive Japanese cars, so they never break down, which is the way to go. Also, while we're on the Porsche story,
Yes.
Porsche. Because I'm a Porsche guy. I'm not Porsche. That's a bird out of Merchant of Venice. And my wife says Porsche, but she drives a Honda, so we might forgive her that. What are we going? I'm Porsche, yeah. Porsche.
I'm Porsche, but then there
Yeah.
was a period in the 80s where it was Porsche.
But everybody in broadcasting seems to go Porsche, and I think we should go against it. Screw them.
I like
I'm
that.
not German. I don't say, oh, I'm going to Paris to regard la Tour de Eiffel. Do I? I don't. I'm going to Paris. I'm going to look at the Eiffel Tower. Well,
I think we should be rebels.
Yeah, screw it. Let's try and set a trend here. More news from Germany. Audi looks set to take on Tesla Model S with a zero-emission version of its next generation A8 luxury saloon. Audi's considering revolutionising the next A8, offering it exclusively full electric. Chairman of the board, but yeah, how's this going to pan out? Brand Scott announced the plan at the brand's AGM.
Well, this is the thing, because Volvo recently announced that they're going to go either electric or hybrid.
All right.
So I think this is going to be a big change in the motoring industry.
It's great. It's great because I was really against this because obviously we grew up in the 1980s and we remember the C5.
The Clive 5.
I remember my granddad lived next door to a guy who had one of those disabled cars.
The blue ones.
Oh, maybe they weren't electric. No, they weren't, were they? They actually had a little engine in.
Did they?
I just think milk floats when I think electric cars.
Yes, the boys from Unigate.
So yeah, basically. But I've seen video online of Tesla, which is like 0 to 60 in 3 seconds. It's like, whoa, okay, now I'm interested. My main issue, how are you going to charge it? Because there aren't enough charging stations in the UK. If you want to do those fast charges, what are they? They're an hour. Domestic plugs 6 hours. Your capacity is 300 miles in a Tesla. But if you smash it, 150. So I mean, I just went down to Exeter a couple of weeks ago and came back. It's 320-mile round trip. Maybe.
And anyone that's charged up a cordless drill knows that you're not going to keep that charge on there.
No, and you can get it. Unless you go
Tesla
to a garage and pull the battery out and put a new one in, and they would have the old one. You know, like the days of the mail in the West you change horses, or the Royal Mail in the UK. Unless you could do that, you could pull a battery out, put a new battery in. You'd give that battery over. That would go to somebody else. But I think you need a little petrol engine in there just to. Oh, my other point, and I didn't really think about it until you mentioned it, was Volvo. Where do Volvo go? And where are they from? Cold countries. How does electric do in cold countries?
It's funny you say that, though. It's funny you say that because I was in Norway a couple of years ago.
Right.
And pretty much everyone there was driving around in Teslas. So,
really?
Yeah, all the way around in Oslo. Most of the people around there were driving around in the big, huge Tesla. The ones that look like the Aston Martin. That's the Model S, isn't it? Is it the big one?
Yes, I think.
Yeah, that's the one. But they're all driving around in that. So I don't know. But then again, I suppose ironically, they're oil rich in Norway. So and they're going for electric.
All you do. Electric cars are great. And I don't like the fact that it's silent. I think you should actually have speakers under the bonnet making broom broom sounds because you can't hear them coming. You can't hear electric cars.
But the thing is, I think you should be able to choose what sound they make.
Oh yeah, I just totally go for 1968 Shelby
Mustang or
something like that. Yeah, something really nice and loud. Or maybe you go for a milk float from the 1970s.
with the rattle of the bottles as well.
So it reduces the pollution levels, but you've got to get that electricity from somewhere. And at the moment, there's loads of people with little BMW, little square little BMW things. It's great. But where's electricity come from? It comes from the power stations, 50% of which are fueled by fossil fuels. we're running the power stations at capacity. There's no new nuclear, and and let's be honest, the wind and the solar is some renewables are to count for 10%. So if we all convert to electric, firstly you've got to get the infrastructure. Then you're still going to be killing polar bears and seals because you're going to have to use either fossil fuels or nuclear power. The creation of that causes greenhouse gases, allegedly. And so you're going to have new power stations. Then the price of electric's going to go up. So I don't really see what the big... on a local level, will have emissions reductions. But that's been made a worse problem by the fact that everybody went diesel for the last 20 years, which is always a filthy fuel.
And and everyone's now going, well, diesel cars aren't any much cleaner than petrol now these days.
Yeah, I love the concept of electric. The world is really disorganized, and I don't think the rest of the world is not organised enough. Look, you're talking about places like Norway. Yeah, well, they're all organised, aren't they? Organised people. It's not going to happen in Napoli, is it? Going to be all over the place.
Yeah.
I don't know whether it's I'm not sure it's the answer. I'll do the end of the news music. That was the news.
Oh no, we've got one more piece of news. One more piece. Yes. Oh. Yes, just in.
Okay.
We go from big cars to small cars.
Oh, I see.
They've just announced the top 10 best super minis of 2019.
Okay.
So in reverse, maybe we need that chart music. Or maybe I should do it in like a Mark Goodyear kind of way.
Apparently, if we put this on tube and I sing it too correctly, we will get fined by PRF.
Yeah. Some copyright chasing us. Not off. So,
in a 10?
In a 10, it's the Toyota Yaris.
Nice.
Number 9, the Mazda 2, which is a little tiny Mazda. Isn't that the one that's slightly smaller than the Ford Fiesta?
It's probably the same platform. Probably the same car.
And don't forget, this is the Super Mini, so it doesn't include things like the Focus or the Astra or the Golf.
Fair enough.
In at number 8, it's the Kia Rio.
Lovely car. Always reminds me of Brazil.
Number 7 is the Dacia, or Dacia, as they say on the advert. Dacia Sandero.
Oh, lovely car.
Number 6, the VW Polo.
Ah.
Number 5, we were talking about the French earlier on. It's the Citroen C3. Number 4, the Skoda Fabia, which of course
is the same thing as the Polo.
Exactly, yeah.
Right.
Number 3 is the Mini 5-door, which I'm not a fan of because it looks a bit big. Nothing really mini about it.
No.
Number 2, it's the Seat Ibiza, which of course is the same as the Fabia, I think, and also
the same as Polo. Okay. Yeah.
And no surprises at number 1 for probably the 20th something year. It's the Ford Fiesta.
Yeah.
And super minis are the way to go, I think, because
for the Honda Jazz.
No. That was in at number, I don't know, 50 something.
Oh, really? Didn't get a look in. I'm surprised. No. I drove one the other day.
Hang on, you drove a Honda Jazz the other day and you didn't say anything about this?
No, I thought I kept one to myself. I only had it for the day because my Accord was being serviced. So they said, "Would you like a choice selection?" And I'll take the Jazz. It was fine. I mean, it was fine. Like eating McDonald's is fine, but I mean, it was nothing to write home about. It wasn't an exciting car, but there's a lot of room in it. You can't get that passionate about it. If I'd have broke it, I wouldn't have cared. But the only thing that I did find quite discombobulating is the new fashion for sort of iPad screens.
Oh yeah, on the dashboard
of cars. I think that's going to cause more accidents than having a phone conversation, because I like to have just buttons I can reach over and just twist. But you now got this big iPad screen and it's very swipey, and I think I'd find that a little bit distracting. But it was all right.
It kind of makes sense though, because the normal clientele for the Jazz it's the slightly older person.
Well, but that's what confused me, because the pensioners that drive them are going to get really confused. They want a button that says blue for hot, for cold, red for hot, a little fan. That means, that's the aircon.
Three
AC.
numbers.
They actually want buttons. Don't confuse them with too much technology. That's just not fair. You know, they're still trying to comprehend how the microwave works. How does
maybe
that work out? I don't know.
maybe they're coming to the car thinking it is the microwave. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. You're obviously happy. You're a Mini owner. Happy that Mini came in at 3. So
Yeah.
basically, I'm not really. So it was, yeah, but it's the same car as won 3 places. That's a bit. Or and actually, you could say the same. The Mazda 2 is effectively the Ford Fiesta, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So that doesn't really mean much anymore. And
No.
the Fabia and the Seat and the Polo are also the same car. But there you go. Listen, we got classic
More
car
news
of the
next
week
week.
now. This week, my choice. You get to choose the one next week. I've gone for the Honda Legend Mark II, 1990 to 95. Absolute monster, 3.2 litre, and not much BHP for 3.2, 212. 0 to 60 in a relatively reasonable 7.9.
Which is
Top,
good for a big car.
yeah.
Really
I
big
mean,
car.
they are absolute whales. Top speed 144. Probably won't do that now. 0 to 60. MPG 15 to 30, but it's more like 15.
Yes.
And it's an old car. It's nearly 30 years old. Hell of a. I saw one online the other day. I had a look at this. So I decided this will be the classic of the week. 130k on the clock. It's a Honda, so they're good for £250,000. £1,000. But you got this car had cruise control, cream leather seats, 4-speed auto. You could get 2 sets of golf clubs in the back, no problem. And as again, Honda pretty much bomb proof. You get it serviced regular. You get all the fluids checked. New cam belt every 60,000 miles or 7 years, whichever comes first. Completely over-engineered by the Japanese. The doors shut like a Merc. There's not much rust on these things. Nothing to go wrong.
So these Legends, they're early 90s. So that would it have VTEC at that point?
I think it
those
does.
engines.
I think it
So
does.
it's first generation sort of VTEC.
Yeah. So
under the bonnet.
they're massive executive boats. Nobody builds these anymore. The executive, they're driving around in M5s or Mercs or BMWs, or if they want a 4x4, Land Rover. So they don't make cars like this anymore, but they're fast cars, good visibility. You can get all the crap in the back, get all the kids in the back. The downsides are big though. You're going to kill you on road tax. So
yeah, I wouldn't. Big thirsty engine, yeah.
Well, it's 1978. It's now they've moved it up to 78. So pre 78, no road tax. Post 78, this is 1995. You're going to have to pay road tax. A 3.2 litre engine. That's going to be over 500 quid.
What?
Yeah, annually. So you only 5 years. 10 years. You could have bought another car for £5,000.
And that's not even doing anything with it, just taxing, keeping it on the road.
Taxing. I mean, if you taxed it and you drove to the supermarket and back once a week, you're paying 550, something like that a week. And if things go wrong, which they do on older executive cars, that's going to write it off. On the Legends, the last generation had an issue with suspension, and it would be if a corner went, it's going to be more than £1,000 to fix the corner, so the cars are right. But what you could do is buy this car. You could enjoy it for a year. When a massive bill comes in, you could treat it like good old Yella the dog. Tell the kids that the Honda Legend now lives on a farm with other Honda Legends when you actually took it to a field and put a bullet in its head and buried it or set it on fire. I don't know, officer. Somebody stole the Honda Legend off my driveway.
You know what I would do, though? The first thing I'd do with a Honda Legend,
go on.
I'd gold plate the badges.
Oh, you've got to. I mean, you would hopefully, of that era, that it is possibly passed through somebody's hands that has already gold plated the black badges, so you don't have to. I think you have to embrace that. Get it a bit lowered, bigger wheels, possibly a gold plated tissue box on the back shelf. I'm not saying.
But it is quite a rare sight on British roads anyway, so I think.
There's a coupe opposite where my children go to school, and it never moves. And it is absolute land yacht. And I used to, when I worked for an insurance company about 25 years ago, and we used to go for a smoke down in the garages, and there used to be one in the garage, and I always used to think, this is So you don't see them. You just don't see
Yeah.
them. Yeah, so I think that's this week's classic car. If you want to go out, and I wanted us to do, I think going forward with this feature, affordable cars. Let's not do. I don't want to talk about classic Porsches that we're never going to own.
And that's the thing. Everyone always says things like that, but then you kind of looking for cars that you go, actually, they were really good.
Yeah. I think you can have classics that are still affordable. And I'm not sure that is ever going to be, a classic in the truest sense. I don't think it's ever going to be, over in where is it? What's it? Is it Montego Bay? Where's they have the classic car show in California? It's never going to be one of those. And here is a Honda Legend for $250,000. I doubt it, but I think for average Joe on the street, that's quite a cool car to go around in. Talking of which, I saw, I think, a Mark 1 Cortina in Sainsbury's today in a teal.
Oh,
and as I came out, I got that beautiful waft of pretty much unburnt petrol, and I thought, it's like this is not tuned correctly. It's either that or lawnmowers. You only used to smell that all the time when I was a kid. That's probably why there was so much violence in the street, because everybody was out with their heads on lead.
They're high on lawnmower smoke.
Just this beautiful, and I heard it, and it was, and it's a sunny day, and somebody had taken their Mark 1 Cortina in teal.
My dad used to have a Mark 1 Cortina, and it was one of the first Mark 1 Cortinas, because a lot of Cortinas that you see actually said Cortina on the bonnet, but the original first ones off the production line Cortinas had Consul written on there. And he had one of those, and it was just like great.
My dad had one of the really awful ones that was right at the end of the Cortina production. I want to say this thing was about a 78, 79. Like the square, very square, red.
The mini Granadas.
Yeah, basically, red interior, 1.6 Pinto engine. They all ended up getting turned into kit cars in the 80s. And it was horrible. And I just remember the last 3 months of this car, he had an issue with the starter motor. So our driveway was really steep, so he'd always park it on the driveway. And when he forgot to park and he parked it out on the street, he'd have to get us kids and my mum to go out and push it.
To bump start it.
Dad? Yeah, bump start it. It's in second. On the gas. Dump the clutch. And he would. It was a horrible car. Absolutely horrible. And it was beige, like velour. I mean, what a finest moment, really. And it was the
Dagenham's finest.
No, it was not a good looking car. So that's our classic of the week. What else have we got to talk about? We've got a quiz coming up later on, which I will be asking Mr. Suji Won the questions.
I'm really looking forward to that.
Moving away. We'll stay with cars for the moment. Sat nav, phone app, or map, which is the best for getting from A to B, in your opinion?
Well, this depends. Because I would say, normally, under normal circumstances, when I'm in a car, I would go sat-nav. I've always gone with a sat-nav in a car. I find myself using the phone when I'm walking. I don't know if that's right or wrong, but I just do it when I'm walking. I use the phone for when I'm walking. So, for me...
You don't launch the Waze app when you're walking, do you?
No, Google Maps does the same thing, and it does say all you just do is you walk around. If you've got a pair of headphones on, it's even better because nobody knows that you're doing it, and it will just talk to you as you're walking along.
I've done that on a bus when I know where I'm going and I don't know the bus, so I don't know the route, so I get on the bus and I can follow myself, courtesy of GPS and Google Maps, going down the road and go, okay, I pretty much need to ring the bell here, because obviously in London everybody hates each other and wants to kill each other. And if you ask the driver, there's any chance you could tell me I need to get off at Howard Road, he'll just grunt. So I usually sit there with I used it going to Greenwich the other day, and okay, I need to go. But usually I don't really do that. But have you used Waze?
No, I've never used that.
Waze is great because... So what I tend to do is I have the sat nav going, and then I have Waze on the phone. And Waze tends to be updated by people, so everybody launches the app, but then you can also add to the app. I don't, because I've got a life. But maybe some people that don't have a life put, there's slightly congestion around here. It's a little bit more relying on the users of Waze, apart from I just couldn't give a toss. But I do remember the good old days of maps.
There was nothing like a good A to Z.
It was frightening. I worked for a company in Nottingham, and I had to go to places, and I had a map of Nottingham, and I had a British road map, but my boss is too cheap to buy maps for the places I was going to. So I could get there, and then I'd obviously be writing down things like, I'd write down the list of roads, A3, that goes into the B416. Then it would be literally 3 roads on the right, church. It would be like
post office.
But I'd get to towns and not know where Station Road was, and have to pull into petrol stations, and people going, no, I don't know. Or go into petrol stations, quickly have a look through their A to Z of wherever, Lincoln, and then try and memorise where I was going. Because you didn't have that phones. You couldn't even take a picture of the thing. So it was like 3 down, 4 across. Okay, so I go down here. 2 islands, then 5th road on the right, church. 3 islands, 5th lane on the right, church. It's a lost art.
Kids of today do not know how difficult it was and how many arguments were caused just by looking at maps.
Well, this is, me and the wife do not rent cars abroad regularly. When we have, it's always involved, unless I really know someone. I'm pretty familiar with a lot of places in Malaysia, and I know Corfu very well and Thailand very well. We rented a car in Cyprus with a Cypriot sat-nav. It might as well have been in... It was in English, but it bore no relation to where we were. I think it was somewhere maybe in Athens. It bore no relation, and it would then just stop working.
Was it a built-in one in your car?
No. It was I think it was a very old, tired sat nav that was separate, and you paid extra €10 for the sat nav. I mean, we might as well have we would just ended up using the tourist map that we got at the resort.
But what people are doing, listening to this, can actually email in and tell us what they do.
Yes, please. The email address is CARBoys, boys with a Z, at outlook.com. That's car, CAR boys, BOYZ, at outlook.com. You can email us your questions, suggested classic cars of the week, a non-car related question. We'll accept them all. Barbecue season. Do you barbecue? Do you not barbecue? I don't know. One of the questions I was thinking for the show was, what outfit should you be buried in? Any ideas? I mean, unless you're going to go down the route of cremation, or just ending up in a box in the weeds. My current theory is a suit of armour, because it'll look cool on the day.
True.
If you've got an open casket, you go, a suit of armour. And then in hundreds of years ago, it will hundreds of years to come, it will confuse archaeologists.
I quite like that idea.
Okay, nobody wore armour in the 21st century, and this guy died, and we think in...
That's really good. What I would go for, I'd wrap myself in bandages, like a mummy.
Oh, like a Turin shroud.
Yes.
And then unwrap it and find you a Jeebus. It was
intact.
The second coming that nobody knew about. I think there's lots of... I think you should consider this. I think you should consider it more and more as we go forward.
That's
like have a Victorian approach to death that we don't consider. We think, we'll be all right. We'll go on forever. I'll never die. Well, you will. So you might as well sort of accept it, embrace it a bit, make it part of your life. Obviously, don't get too into it and become a goth.
I kind of feel like that's what they should do with cars. Obviously, not with Japanese cars because they go on forever. But what should happen to them when they die?
It is quite frightening that you used to... I mean, I'm getting of the age that there are cars that I remember being very prolific on the road, but slowly, you see less and less, and it's a real event. I saw an Austin 1800 the other day. So they made those up to about 83. And I actually went down the window and went, nice Austin, and he gave me a nice 1800, the Land Crab. I mean, an awful car, front-wheel drive. I think some sort of chain link gearbox that was horrible. Oh, and they span on ice. So my dad had one, and you had to put a bag of cement in the boot.
To the ballast.
Yeah, there's probably a good reason why you don't see these things around anymore. But it's strange how you think that the cars are constantly they are constantly changing, but there's certain things that you forget and they sort of disappear, and then when you see that one particular model, you're like, wow, look at that.
And that's kind of like the whole classic car feature we have on this show.
It is, yes. So again, we'll give you the email addresses car-boyz, BOYZ @outlook.com. Give us your questions, motoring related, not motoring related, questions about Brexit. We won't be able to help you.
It doesn't really matter.
It's all screwed.
We will answer all questions.
Yeah, we'll answer them badly and probably incorrectly. We'll try not to libel anybody. That's obviously, we don't want to be demonetized. And as I mentioned earlier on, if anybody would like to sponsor the show, we're prepared to kiss corporate arse.
We are available.
We are available for children's parties. Yes. Okay, big quiz. You ready for the big quiz?
Looking forward to this. Yes, okay, big quiz. So
I will be the question master, and you will be the invited. I could do it in the style of Terry Wogan. Hello, welcome this week to Car-boyz' big quiz. Left or right or middle? Which side is your petrol cap?
It's kind of like the poor man's going for gold, isn't it?
It is. Poor.
No, that was Henry Kelly. That was Henry Kelly, not
good old Henry Kelly. Where is he now? Robert Lamar. I, Henry, will be asking the questions with Simon. You'll be answering them. Welcome to Going for Gold. I better not mention that show. It's probably copyrighted. So I'm going to go through a list of cars, and you're going to give me which side that you believe the petrol cap is on. We're starting off with the Honda Civic.
Honda Civic. We're talking about the new versions of them.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. This pretty much covers all Hondas.
Honda Civic. I'm just trying to think of you getting out of your car. I would say it's on the passenger side, which is the left side.
Yes. I should say by left and right we mean as you sit in the car looking forward. That's your.
And a top tip, if you didn't know this, do you know the little petrol gauge on your car?
Yes.
Usually they have a little triangle next to them. And the triangle points to the side that the petrol cap is on.
Oh, really?
Yes.
I'm going to have to look at this. This is good. This is
your life. Your life will now change.
Info, because I mean, I guess you're like me. I will die before I will fill up on the opposite side. That's never going to happen. It's never going to happen on my watch. I will wait for 10 minutes. I like to fill up on the correct side.
Yes.
I'm not draping some awful Esso hose over the back of my car and shoving it in at an angle.
And you realise you're not close enough to the petrol pump.
I'm sorry, apologising to the guy behind. And just no, it has to be on the side of the petrol cap. Yes. You got that one correct. And that's what I said. It is stage left. No, it's not. I'm getting it right. It's not stage left and stage right. It's the opposite of stage left and right. It is as you are sitting in the car seat. Your right is your right. In the driver's seat, your left is your left. Right. Yeah. So you got that one right. Okay. So one of a beautiful little car, Suzuki Cappuccino.
It's like, if you haven't seen it, it's like a little running shoe, the Cappuccino. Yeah. I would go with the left passenger side.
Left passenger side, correct. So that's a Japanese thing. Rover 75.
Rover 75. Now, the thing is, I would say, I'm explaining my logic behind this. I would say, because most of the drivers of the 75 were of an age, of a vintage.
True. They were 75, weren't they? It should have been Rover 75 or above.
It means that they haven't got that much time. So I would say it's on the driver's side because there's less way to walk around the car.
Good thinking, and that's correct. That's correct. Really good thinking. With less time. Although, unfortunately, older people don't seem to apply that to the post office. It would be nice if they did. I always think, aren't you in a rush? How long have you got left? Hello, it's lovely today. Don't you want to get on with your life? Ford car.
Ford car. I'm trying to remember because I had one.
Usually, you'd know because there was rust all around it.
Yeah, exactly. My petrol cap was always rusty around there. That one was drivers. No. Passenger side.
No, wrong. Wrong.
Really?
That was the first wrong one. It's on the right. It's the driver's side.
I'm gonna have to check that.
Yeah. Peugeot 206.
206. Right side.
Yes, correct.
Ooh.
Here we go. It's starting to get difficult now. Triumph TR6.
Now the TR6 wasn't the cheese-shaped one. That was the TR7, wasn't it? So the TR6, I'm going to go for right.
I'm afraid I can't give you that. The TR6
Why?
is in the middle at the back,
Ooh.
just ahead of the boot. The TR6,
Oh, okay,
German
yeah.
designed, maybe mid to late 60s, maybe a bit later. And the petrol cap is silver and just ahead of the boot. So
That reminds me.
Trick question, really.
Was it the old Jaguar and Daimler Sovereigns, the petrol cap by the back window, between the back window and the boot lid?
Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool.
Now, that brings us onto a car of the same era.
Okay.
P6. Rover
The
P6.
big, huge. Actually, someone lived down my road that had a P6.
Yeah.
Passenger? Left?
Left, correct. And again, in the
Yes.
same position as you just mentioned.
Ah.
Good. Here we go. America now. We've left England. We're in America. Yeehaw. For our American listeners, that's it. What do you want?
That's what we
F all
British
about
think
England.
of you.
You can walk around with bowler hats drinking tea. You're America. Yeehaw. Mustang Mach 2.
Mach 2. Now, I thought this is the one that was the tricky one. I think that's in the middle because wasn't it under like the badge or something like that?
Oh, yes, back middle.
Yes.
It looks like you're taking the car roughly from behind when you fill up.
Corvette
Stingray Mark II, which is the pretty Stingray from the movie Con Air. Still in Con Air.
American, therefore lazy. No, that's a generalization. American, so I will go for driver's side.
No, back middle again. Sorry.
Oh.
Back middle. Same position. Okay, sticking with America. A dreadful car. Jeep Wrangler.
Does it count that actually it's got no windows and doors and you just climb over anywhere to get to it?
Yeah, it's fine. It can have a machine gun on the back, a gun rack, maybe a deer strapped to the front. But they don't in England. Jeep Wranglers tend to be driven by more effeminate gentlemen.
I would go for driver's side.
No, wrong. No. Hang on, you said drivers, which is right.
Yes.
Did you mean right?
Well, Americans are driving on the wrong side of the car,
Yeah,
which is obviously our passenger.
I think it's left. It's passenger side. Oh, okay. So you got that one right. Okay, don't confuse me. The Americans need to know that you drive on the right-hand side. So says the Queen, and it should be mandatory across there. And do you know why we drive on that side? It goes back to medieval days.
I think it is. Is it something to do with jousting?
It's jousting.
Yes.
It's jousting. And I don't know why they drive on the left. It makes no sense. All the proper countries, of the world, Japan, Australia. I'm right.
Mauritius does.
Out now.
Mauritius does. They drive on the yeah.
Not where else? Malaysia, Singapore, Thailand. Thailand drive on the same side as us. Burma, India. I think they do. Yeah, India. They sort of drive in the middle of the road, on the side of the road, in the ditch.
There's no discipline at all.
No, I've got. Now let me think. Indonesia. Actually, Indonesia might be the same as the Americans. Yeah, I think that. It's been a while since I've been there. Okay, all right. Well, that's an argument for another day. Left or right hand side. Okay, we're moving back to Europe now. This the Germans. BMW 3 Series, the new one.
Passenger left.
No, it's the drivers. It's the right.
Hope people are playing along with this at home.
Yeah. Okay, W124, Mercedes W124.
Is this a trick one?
No. There's a theme. I'll just say that to the German cars. There's a theme going to be going on with all German cars.
I thought this would be a trick one. It'd be like at the front. Uh, passenger side.
No, it's right again.
Oh, okay.
Audi A3, 2014.
German, so therefore right.
Right, yes. Golf, the new Golf.
German, so the right.
Yeah, so it's strange that Germans leading a bit right there.
Yay!
Not unusual, is it? Go back about 70 years. Reverse answer right. Okay, moving further across into Eastern Europe, we go to Poland next with the FSO Polonaise.
Oh, the FSO. Did they actually run on petrol? Were they not just like on vodka or something like that?
Anything. Vodka, something you'd find in the bottom of an old lawnmower.
I would go for right.
No
drivers.
left. Strangely, Lada Riva, which I think they've just finished the production on, maybe 5 years ago. The production finished on that.
Which was the old Fiat? Was it 12127?
Yes. Yes.
Lada Riva, I would go for driver's side.
You are correct. So that is not bad. I think. Oh no, sorry. The last one. And now this is a bit of a trick question, which you obviously drove one of these cars last year, a Trabant.
Oh, and if you would like to see our escapades in the Trabant, we have put some links on, I think, on our Facebook
page. Go to the Facebook page, Car-boyz, and you will find some fantastic tour of Berlin. Very historical, very funny, in some 30-year-old Trabants.
So, Trabant, I would say it didn't run on petrol because most of it came out in smoke.
Yes.
Driving along. Driver's side, right side?
No. I'll give it away. It's front, middle, underneath the bonnet, nice and safe, right next to the engine.
I'm glad.
It was like designed by somebody drunk. Very good. So nice. And it's the Trabant is made out of. It's not made. It's made out of cardboard paper, isn't it? Is it Duraplast?
Yes.
So it's not made out of metal. So I imagine the tanks probably leaked. The petrol tanks. So we'll put them right next to the engine so they can just leak petrol all over the engine. But yeah, so you open the bonnet and then you poured it. I had to look this one up because I thought the Trabant, I thought it was front wheel drive. It is, but in that engine compartment is also the fuel tank, which to me seems highly unsafe.
I must admit, after we drove the Trabant, I'm a little bit in love with it.
Yeah, it's proper motoring, isn't it? I mean, in the same way that if I gave you a 1968 Ferrari Dino, you'd just be, oh, this is the best car I've driven. That is a poor man's version because it's proper motoring. You are on the edge of your seat driving it. It does not drive itself. You have to work it, as we found out. The one we hired only had 3 gears, not 4. And you could smell the fumes. For me, because I'm slightly older than you, I do remember driving cars like this in the late 80s, early 90s that stank of petrol and were really that crappy. And my uncle was a big car guy, and I remember as a little kid being in cars like this. So yeah, I
loved our Trabant. It was pink with rainbow stripes.
It was very U2. It was very, very Paul Smith, actually. I think.
Yeah.
I think you'll find very Paul Smith colours.
And it's the shooting brake version as well.
It was the shooting brake. You're right. So it had the like the estate version, but I think shooting brake is a nicer phrase. I'll say it again. We're near, and now our hour is nearly up. We've got about a minute left. I have been Richard Green. You have been
Simon Sejuan. I still am.
Thank you very much for joining us. You can get in touch with the podcast Car-boyz with a Z at outlook.com. Car-boyz with a Z at outlook.com. We'll endeavour to answer your car questions, whether they're car questions or whether or not. We don't really care. We don't do too much politics. We are definitely looking for a sponsor for the show. Porsche, if you're listening, I would like a Spider. Any requests for you, Simon? I see you in a
911 does look really nice.
Oh, okay.
The new
911. Or just basically beer and peanuts. We work very, very cheap for this show.
I'm easy.
So yes, we've heard this. More on that next week. Thank you very much for joining this show. My last thing to say is get lost, get alive. And yes, that's it from us. Thank you and good night.
Thank you.